She said black men were too ugly until the black ice cream seller changed her mind. Sloane Merrick sat at brunch with her sorority sisters at a trendy cafe in Charleston, South Carolina, surrounded by mimosas and judgment. At 24, she was everything her family wanted her to be. Blonde, beautiful, from old Southern money, and engaged to Wellington Hughes III, whose family owned half the commercial real estate in the state. "Did you see Jessica's new boyfriend?" Her best friend Tallulah Crane whispered, scrolling through Instagram. "She's dating a black guy. Can you imagine?" "I can't," Sloane said, wrinkling her nose. "I mean, to each their own, but personally, I just don't find black men attractive at all. They're just not my type." "Too dark," her friend Bexley Sutton added. "I prefer the classic look. Blue eyes, light hair, like Wellington." "Exactly," Sloane agreed. "I've never understood the appeal. Black men are just, I don't know, too ugly for me." "I know that sounds bad, but it's just my preference." Her other friend, Ainsley Porter, looked uncomfortable. "That's kind of racist, Sloane." "It's not racist to have preferences. I'm allowed to be attracted to who I'm attracted to, and I'm attracted to white men. Period." What Sloane didn't realize was that her words carried beyond her privileged bubble. The server clearing their table, a young black woman named Tiana Ellis, had heard everything. She said nothing, just cleared plates with professional silence, while internally seething at the casual racism. This was Sloane's world, insulated, privileged, casually bigoted, without even recognizing it. She'd grown up in a wealthy Charleston neighborhood, attended private schools, had limited meaningful interaction with people of color beyond those who served her family. Her fiancé Wellington was the perfect match. Same background, same values, same casual racism wrapped in preference and tradition. Their engagement had been announced in the society pages. The wedding was planned for October at a historic plantation venue, because of course it was. "I'm thinking about changing the wedding flowers," Sloane said, moving on from the uncomfortable topic. "Wellington's mother suggested white roses, but I want something more dramatic. Maybe orchids?" "Orchids are expensive," Tallulah noted. "So, it's my wedding. I want it perfect." That afternoon, Sloane drove her BMW through Charleston's historic district, returning home to the family estate. She passed the Battery, the beautiful waterfront, the carefully preserved antebellum architecture that her family loved and tourists photographed. She also passed a small ice cream shop on King Street, Sweet Scoops, that she'd never noticed before. It was new, open just last month, with colorful awnings and a chalkboard sign advertising homemade flavors. Sloane wouldn't normally stop at such a place. Too pedestrian, too casual. But the late August heat was brutal on. Her car's AC had been acting up. She parked, checked her makeup in the mirror, and walked into Sweet Scoops expecting generic service and mediocre product. What she found instead was Darius Laurent behind the counter, and everything she thought she knew about attraction was about to be challenged. "Hello, my Stop Racism family. Thank you for tuning in today. Before we dive deeper into this beautiful love story, I want to hear from you. Where are you watching from? Drop your country and state in the comments below. Also, I'd love to know your thoughts. What did you think of the story so far? Do you believe love can truly conquer prejudice? Let us know in the comments. We love reading them. And trust me, your words motivate us to keep making these videos. Let's make this video reach at least 50 comments. Your support means the world to us, and it drives us to create even more meaningful content for you. So don't forget to comment, share, and keep spreading love. Darius Laurent looked up from the ice cream case when the bell chimed and immediately recognized the type of customer who just entered. Wealthy, entitled, probably looking for reasons to complain. He'd seen plenty during his first month operating Sweet Scoops. At 31, Darius had poured his life savings and a small business loan into this shop. After years as a pastry chef at high-end restaurants, he'd finally taken the leap into ownership. His ice cream was exceptional, unique flavors he developed himself, made fresh daily using local ingredients. But customers like this woman, blonde, designer sunglasses, carrying a handbag worth more than his monthly rent. They usually wanted familiar flavors and looked at his craft as beneath them. "Welcome to Sweet Scoops," Darius said with practiced professionalism. "What can I get you?" Sloane approached the counter and stopped. The man behind it was striking, objectively handsome in a way that contradicted everything she'd said at brunch. Dark skin, warm brown eyes, a smile that was genuine despite clearly being customer service. She felt a flicker of something, confusion, maybe discomfort, and quickly pushed it away. "What's good here?" she asked, her tone suggesting nothing would be. "Everything's made fresh daily. Our most popular flavors are the bourbon pecan, lavender honey, and salted caramel. But I also have more adventurous options. Cardamom rose, black sesame, olive oil, and sea salt. Those sound weird. They're inspired by my time training in Paris and working at Magnolia's. I'm a classically trained pastry chef." Sloane blinked. "You're a chef?" "I am. This is my shop. I make everything here." He gestured to the cases. "Would you like to try samples before deciding?" "Sure. The bourbon pecan, I guess." Darius prepared a small sample spoon, handing it to her with a smile that was both professional and genuinely proud of his work. Their fingers brushed briefly during the exchange, and Sloane felt an unexpected jolt. She tasted the ice cream, and her eyes widened. It was exceptional, rich, perfectly balanced, with actual chunks of candied pecans and a subtle bourbon note that wasn't overwhelming. "This is really good. Thank you. I developed that recipe over 2 years. The bourbon is local, from a distillery outside Charleston. The pecans are from a farm in Georgia. I'll take a large." In a cup, while Darius prepared her order, Sloane found herself watching him. His movements were precise, practiced, the ease of someone who'd spent years mastering his craft. His hands were elegant despite their size, careful with presentation. $7.50, Darius said, handing her the cup with a small wooden spoon. Sloane paid, taking the ice cream. "This place is new? Opened a month ago. Still building our customer base, but response has been good. Well, the ice cream is excellent." "I'm surprised. Usually these trendy places are all marketing and no substance. I'm the opposite. All substance, still working on the marketing." He smiled. "But thank you. I hope you'll come back. Maybe." Sloane left, sat in her car, and ate the ice cream. It was the best she'd ever had, and she'd eaten at expensive restaurants all over the world. But what bothered her wasn't the quality. It was the way she'd noticed the man who made it, the way her breath had caught when he'd smiled, the way she'd felt attracted to a black man, which contradicted everything she'd said that morning, everything she'd believed about her preferences. She drove home confused and uncomfortable, trying to convince herself it was just appreciation for good ice cream, nothing more. It wasn't, and deep down, she knew it. Sloane told herself she was returning to Sweet Scoops 3 days later because the ice cream was exceptional, not because she couldn't stop thinking about the man who made it. Definitely not because she'd had a confusing dream about him that she refused to fully examine. "Back again?" Darius said when she entered, his smile warm and welcoming. "Bourbon pecan addiction already?" "Actually, I want to try something different." "You mentioned cardamom rose?" "Adventurous choice. Most people stick with familiar flavors." He prepared a sample. "This one's inspired by a dessert I had in Istanbul. The cardamom is subtle. The rose is from rose water I make myself. Try it." Sloane tasted and was transported. The flavor was unlike anything she'd experienced. Exotic, complex, perfectly balanced. "That's incredible. Thank you. It's not for everyone, but people who appreciate it really love it. I'll take a large, and maybe a small of the olive oil sea salt. My mother's having friends over tomorrow. I thought I'd bring something different." As Darius prepared her order, they fell into conversation. "So, you're a chef who became an ice cream maker. That's an unusual path." "Not really. Ice cream is basically frozen custard, which is classic French pastry technique. I worked at several Michelin-starred restaurants, Magnolia's here in Charleston, then a year in Paris, 6 months in New York. But I wanted to build something of my own. Ice cream felt like the right medium, accessible but still room for creativity. That must have taken courage, leaving prestigious restaurants to start from scratch." "It did. My family thought I was crazy. My mentor said I was wasting my talent. But this," he gestured to the shop, "this is mine. Every recipe, every decision, every risk. That matters more than prestigious kitchens where I'm executing someone else's vision." Sloane found herself genuinely interested. "Do you do everything yourself?" "I have one employee. My sister Janae helps with weekend shifts. Otherwise, it's just me. Making ice cream at 4 a.m., serving customers, managing books, scrubbing floors. Glamorous entrepreneurship." He grinned. "That sounds exhausting." "It is, but it's also fulfilling in a way restaurant work never was. Here I see people's reactions directly. I build relationships with regular customers. I'm part of the community, not hidden in a kitchen. Well, your ice cream is exceptional. I'm actually here planning my wedding in October, and I'm wondering if you do catering? I'd love to have a unique dessert option. Darius's expression flickered. Was that disappointment? Before returning to professional interest. I do events. Tell me about your wedding. It's at Oak Ridge Plantation. 200 guests. Very traditional, very formal. My fiancé Wellington is old Charleston family, so everything needs to be perfect. Oak Ridge? Darius's tone shifted slightly. That's a former slave plantation, isn't it? It's a historic venue. Beautiful grounds, very prestigious. It's where enslaved people were tortured and killed. Having a wedding there is problematic. Sloane bristled. It's history. We're not celebrating slavery. We're using a beautiful location. You're celebrating on ground soaked in black suffering. That's not just history. It's ongoing insensitivity. But hey, who am I to judge? Just a black business owner whose ancestors might have been enslaved on that exact property. The tension was sudden and uncomfortable. Sloane felt defensive. I'm not racist for having my wedding at a historic venue. I didn't say racist. I said insensitive. There's a difference, though sometimes they overlap. Look, I came here for ice cream, not a lecture on political correctness. Political correctness? This is basic human empathy. But you're right, I apologize. That was inappropriate. Your wedding? Your choices? He handed her the ice cream. $16. Sloane paid, took her purchase, and left without another word. In her car, she felt angry and confused. Who was he to judge her wedding venue? It wasn't her fault the plantation had a complicated history. Lots of beautiful places did, but his words nagged at her. Ground soaked in black suffering. My ancestors might have been enslaved there. She'd never thought about it that way, had never considered that what she saw as history, others experienced as ongoing trauma. For the first time, Sloane wondered if her perspective was incomplete. Sloane didn't return to Sweet Scoops for 2 weeks. She told herself it was because she was busy with wedding planning. In reality, Darius's words had unsettled her, and she didn't like feeling unsettled. But the ice cream had been a hit at her mother's gathering. 3 different friends had asked where she'd gotten it. And Wellington, usually indifferent to desserts, had actually complimented the olive oil flavor. "Where'd you find this?" he'd asked. "It's not from Jenny's or anything recognizable. A new place on King Street. Sweet Scoops. Never heard of it. But this is good. Maybe we should consider them for the wedding." Now, Sloane stood outside the shop, trying to decide if she was brave enough to go back in after their tense last conversation. The decision was made for her when Darius emerged, carrying a box of supplies. He saw her and paused. "Sloane, I didn't think you'd come back. I wasn't sure I would, but your ice cream is too good to avoid just because you made me uncomfortable. Fair enough. Come inside." The shop was empty, late afternoon lull. Darius set down his supplies and faced her directly. "I owe you an apology. I shouldn't have lectured you about your wedding venue. That was presumptuous and rude. You weren't wrong, though, were you?" The question surprised him. "What do you mean?" "I mean, I've been thinking about what you said, about the plantation being ground-soaked in suffering. I never thought about it that way before. To me, it was just a beautiful historic property. But to you, to people who look like you, it represents trauma, real trauma. And having my wedding there, celebrating the happiest day of my life on ground where people suffered, that's insensitive at best." Darius studied her carefully. "That's a surprising level of self-awareness for someone from your background. What's that supposed to mean? Rich white Southern girl? Usually y'all double down when challenged. You're actually listening. That's rare. Don't patronize me." "I'm not. I'm genuinely impressed. Sloane, changing a wedding venue is huge. Expensive, complicated, embarrassing. Most people wouldn't even consider it. Are you actually thinking about it?" "I don't know. Wellington loves Oak Ridge. His parents got married there. It's tradition for his family. But Darius, what you said, it's been haunting me. How can I celebrate love on ground where love was denied, where families were torn apart, where people were treated as property? So change venues. It's not that simple." "It is exactly that simple. You choose differently. Yes, it'll be hard. Yes, people will question you. But Sloane, doing the right thing, is often hard. That doesn't make it less right." They stood in silence for a moment. Then Sloane said quietly, "I said something terrible a few weeks ago, at brunch with my friends. I said black men were too ugly for me, that I just wasn't attracted to black men at all." Darius's jaw tightened. "And now you're here telling me this why? To prove your prejudice? No, to admit I was wrong. Because, Darius, I can't stop thinking about you. Not just your ice cream or your words about the plantation. You, the way you smile, the way your hands move when you're preparing ice cream, the passion in your voice when you talk about your craft. I'm attracted to you, and it terrifies me because it contradicts everything I thought I believed about my preferences. The confession hung between them, raw and honest. Darius's expression was unreadable. So what? You want absolution. You want me to say it's okay that you've been casually racist your whole life because now you've developed a crush. No, I want to understand why I believed those things, why I surrounded myself with people who reinforced those beliefs. I want to be better than I've been. Why? Because you're attracted to one black man? That doesn't make you not racist, Sloane. That makes you hypocritical. I know, you're right. But isn't recognizing hypocrisy the first step to changing? Maybe. Or maybe you'll realize this attraction is just curiosity. You'll marry your plantation wedding fiancé, and you'll go back to your comfortable prejudices. Maybe, Sloane admitted. But I'd like to try not to. Darius, will you help me? Not with the attraction part. I know that's presumptuous, and you probably think I'm terrible. But with understanding, with learning. I've spent 24 years in a bubble. I want to understand what's outside it. Darius was quiet for a long moment. Then, I'm not your teacher. I'm not responsible for educating you about racism. I know, but you challenged me in a way no one else has. And I'm asking, not demanding. If you say no, I'll respect that and leave. But Darius, I think you could help me become someone better than I am. Against his better judgment, Darius agreed to coffee. Not a date, he made that explicitly clear, but a conversation. They met at a neutral cafe the next afternoon, both awkward and uncertain. So where do we start? Sloane asked, stirring her latte nervously. With honesty, why did you really say black men were ugly? What was underneath that statement? Sloane winced. I've been thinking about it a lot. I think it was what I was taught. Not explicitly. My parents never said don't date black men. But implicitly, through jokes, through the neighborhoods we lived in, through who we socialized with. Black people were invisible in my world, except as service workers. I never had black friends, black classmates, black anyone in my life as equal. So you developed prejudice through isolation. Yes, and maybe through fear? Charleston has a complicated racial history. There's this underlying tension that no one talks about. White people live in their bubble pretending everything's fine, while black people navigate a city built on their ancestors' enslavement. I think I absorbed that tension as fear, and fear turned into prejudice, disguised as preference. That's a fairly sophisticated analysis for someone who's never thought about this before. I've been doing research, reading articles, watching documentaries. Did you know there's a whole term for what I was doing? Racial preference as coded racism? I thought I was just stating attraction, but I was really perpetuating the idea that whiteness is inherently more attractive, that white features are the standard and everything else is deviant. Darius was impressed despite himself. What prompted this research? You and shame. After I left your shop that day, I couldn't stop thinking about what I'd said, not just to you, but at brunch throughout my life. Sloane, when I really examined my beliefs, I didn't like what I found. I've been casually cruel my whole life without even realizing it. So what now? You've read some articles, you feel bad and that absolves you? No, awareness is just the start. Darius, I don't know what I'm doing. I just know I don't want to be the person I've been. And I'm attracted to you in a way that's confusing and uncomfortable and maybe exactly what I need to break out of my bubble. Sloane, you have a fiancé. You're planning a wedding. Whatever attraction you feel. It's not fair to Wellington or to me. I know, and I need to talk to Wellington because honestly, I don't think I love him. I think I love what he represents. Safety, tradition, my parents' approval. But him as a person? I'm not sure I even know him beyond our shared background. That's something you need to figure out. But Sloane, I'm not going to be your experiment. I'm not here to help you rebel against your upbringing or prove you're not racist. I'm a person with feelings, not a teaching tool. I understand. Can we be friends? I know that sounds naive, but I genuinely want to know you, not as a project or an experiment, as a person. Darius studied her carefully. Something in her vulnerability seemed genuine. Against all logic, he found himself saying, okay, friends. But Sloane, the moment I feel like I'm being used or tokenized, I'm out. Clear? Crystal clear. Over the next weeks, they developed an unlikely friendship. Darius showed Sloane parts of Charleston she'd never seen. Predominantly black neighborhoods, restaurants serving soul food, churches with histories of resistance. Sloane absorbed it all, asking questions, listening more than talking. "This is Charleston?" she said one afternoon as they walked through the historic East Side. "I've lived here my whole life and never knew this existed." "Because you never had to know. Your Charleston is downtown, the Battery, the historic district. This Charleston, where actual black people live and work and build community. This is invisible to tourists and wealthy white people. I'm sorry for my ignorance. Sorry is a start. Action is better. Sloane, it's not enough to learn. You have to change behavior. Change who you socialize with, where you spend money, what you support. Otherwise, this is just tourism." "I know. I'm trying. I canceled the plantation venue." Darius stopped walking. "You what?" "I canceled Oak Ridge. Told Wellington we needed a different venue. He was furious. His mother was apoplectic. But Darius, you were right. I can't celebrate on ground soaked in suffering. It's wrong." "What did Wellington say?" "That I was being dramatic and politically correct. That history is history and we shouldn't let it dictate our lives. We had a huge fight." "Are you okay?" "No, but I'm right. And that matters more than being comfortable." The more time Sloane spent with Darius, the more she realized how incompatible she and Wellington truly were. Wellington was comfortable with the status quo. He didn't question, didn't grow, didn't see anything wrong with their insular, privileged existence. "You've changed," he told her one evening over dinner. "Ever since you met that ice cream guy, you've been different, critical, angry." "I'm not angry. I'm aware. There's a difference." "Aware of what? Some made-up social justice nonsense?" "Sloane, we're happy. Why rock the boat? Are we happy? Wellington, when's the last time we had a real conversation? When's the last time you asked about my dreams or fears? We're comfortable together, but that's not the same as happy. This is about him, isn't it? The black guy. You're attracted to him. This is about me realizing I've spent 24 years sleepwalking through life. Darius just happened to wake me up. I'm calling off the engagement." Wellington said it matter-of-factly, like canceling a subscription. "You're clearly going through something, and I'm not interested in waiting around while you figure yourself out. My mother was right. You're too flighty, too influenced by trends. This social justice phase will pass, but I'm not sticking around for it." Sloane should have been devastated. Instead, she felt relieved. Okay, that's all you have to say? What do you want me to say? I think you're right. We're not compatible. We never really were. We were just expected." After Wellington left, Sloane sat in her apartment, the one her father paid for, and realized she needed to make more changes. Being awakened to her privilege wasn't enough. She needed to stop benefiting from it without contributing. She called her father. "I want to work, get a real job, pay my own rent." Bradford Merrick was silent for a moment. "Darling, you have a job. You're on the board of Mother's Charity. That's not a job. That's a hobby funded by family money. Dad, I need to actually work, earn my own way. This is about that ice cream fellow, isn't it? The one you've been spending time with. This is about me wanting to be someone I respect. Can you understand that?" "I suppose. But Sloane, be realistic. You have no work experience, no practical skills. What kind of job do you expect to get? I'll figure it out. But Dad, I need to try. I can't keep living on family money while claiming to understand real life. It's hypocritical." To Sloane's surprise, her father didn't argue. "Okay, you have until the end of the month to find employment and secure your own housing. If you're serious about this, I'll support you. But no safety net, no family money once you move out. You want independence? You'll have real independence. Thank you." Sloane hung up terrified and exhilarated. She'd just upended her entire life. No fiancé, soon no family money, stepping into uncertainty for the first time. She called Darius. "Can we talk? In person?" They met at Sweet Scoops after closing. Darius was cleaning, preparing for the next day. Sloane helped without being asked, learning the rhythms of his work. "I broke off my engagement," she said while wiping down tables. Darius looked up sharply. "Because of me? Because of me? Because Wellington and I weren't right together. Because I'd rather be alone and genuine than partnered and performing." "Sloane, I don't know what you expect from me." "Nothing. I expect nothing. But Darius, I need you to know, you changed my life, not just my views on race, though that too. You showed me that passion and purpose matter more than prestige, that doing what you love is worth the risk, that building something real, even if it's small, is more valuable than inheriting something hollow. So what are you going to do?" I don't know. Find a job. Move out of my family-funded apartment. Actually experience life instead of just observing it from my bubble. Figure out who Sloane Merrick is when she's not defined by family money and social expectation. That's brave. It's terrifying, but necessary. She paused. Darius, I need to be honest about something. I'm attracted to you. Really attracted. Not because you're a novelty or because I'm rebelling. Because you're brilliant and passionate and you challenge me to be better. But I understand if you can't see past where I came from. If I'm too much baggage. You're not baggage. You're complicated. And Sloane, I'm attracted to you too. But we're from such different worlds. We were from different worlds. Now I'm trying to build a new world. One where I'm not defined by family wealth. Where I contribute instead of just consume. And maybe you could be part of that world, if you wanted. Darius set down his cleaning rag. I need you to understand something. Dating me, a black man in Charleston, it's going to invite judgment. Your friends, your family, strangers on the street. People will assume you're slumming, that I'm using you. Every racist stereotype imaginable. Can you handle that? I don't know, but I want to try. Darius, these past weeks with you have been the most real thing I've ever experienced. I don't want to lose that. Then let's try. Slowly. No expectations, no promises. Just two people figuring out if what they feel is real. Deal. They kissed in the empty ice cream shop, surrounded by freezers humming and the smell of waffle cones. Two people from different worlds trying to build something together. How's this story hitting you so far? Tell us in the comments. If you're loving it, type 1. If not, type 0. We want to know what you think. The backlash was immediate and brutal. When Sloane posted a photo of her and Darius on social media, nothing romantic, just them at Sweet Scoops, her world exploded. Tallulah called first. Are you seriously dating the ice cream guy? The black ice cream guy? Sloane, what are you thinking? I'm thinking I like him. Is that not allowed? It's just sudden and weird. You literally said black men were ugly 3 months ago. Now you're with one? It feels performative. Or maybe I was wrong. Maybe I've learned that attraction isn't about race, it's about connection. Why is that so hard to believe? Because you're Sloane Merrick. You don't date service workers. You certainly don't date black service workers. It's social suicide. Then I guess I'm committing social suicide. Tallulah, if our friendship depends on me dating within my race and class, maybe it's not a friendship worth having. Tallulah hung up. So did Bexley when Sloane refused to explain herself. Ainsley was the only one who reached out with genuine support. I think it's brave, Ainsley said during coffee. Challenging your own prejudice, stepping outside your comfort zone. Most people never do that. It doesn't feel brave. It feels terrifying. Because you're losing your community. But Sloane, was that community worth having? They're mad at you for dating someone who makes you happy. That's not love. That's control. Sloane's mother was worse than her friends. Vivian Merrick showed up at Sloane's apartment unannounced, her face tight with disapproval. We need to talk about this situation. What situation, Mom? Don't play dumb. You're dating a black man. Darling, I don't care what you do privately, but publicly. It reflects on the family. People are talking. Let them talk. It's not that simple. Your father has business relationships to maintain. I have social standing. Your choices affect all of us. Then maybe you all should examine why my dating choices affect your social standing. Maybe the problem isn't me dating Darius. It's that your social circle is racist. I'm not racist. You just told me not to publicly date someone because of his race. That's literally racism, Mom. It's pragmatism. Sloane, the world judges interracial couples harshly, especially here in Charleston with our history. I'm trying to protect you. Protect me from what? Happiness? Growth? Real connection? Mom, I know you think you're helping, but you're actually asking me to choose racism over love. And I won't do that. Darius faced his own challenges. His sister Janae was supportive, but worried. She's white and rich, Darius. Those are two major complications. I know, but she's also genuine, growing, trying to be better than she was. That counts for something. Does it count when her family's wealth probably came from exploiting people who look like us? When she's been casually racist her whole life? How do you get past that? I don't know. But Janae, she left her fiancé for me. She's cutting ties with racist friends. She's trying to understand privilege and dismantle it. That's more than most people do. Just be careful. Rich white girls playing at social justice, they often retreat back to comfort when things get hard. Sloane's not like that. I hope you're right. The real test came when Sloane applied for jobs. Without family connections or relevant experience, she was rejected repeatedly. She finally got hired at a bookstore. Minimum wage, 40 hours a week, on her feet all day. "This is humbling," she told Darius after her first week. "I'm exhausted. My feet hurt. A customer yelled at me today because we didn't have the books she wanted. And I'm making $12 an hour. I don't know how people survive like this." Welcome to reality. Most people live this way, Sloane. Now you understand why labor rights matter, why minimum wage fights are important, why your family's wealth is built on others' exploitation. I do understand, and it's harder than I imagined. But Darius, I'm not quitting. I need this. I need to understand what most people's lives actually look like. I'm proud of you. That's real growth. 6 months into their relationship, Sloane and Darius had found their rhythm. She worked at the bookstore and volunteered at a community literacy program. He expanded Sweet Scoops with a second employee and started catering events. They navigated the stares, the comments, the judgment together. "People assume I'm your charity case," Darius said one evening after a stranger had made a rude comment. "Like you're doing me a favor by dating me." "People assume I'm rebelling against my family," Sloane countered. "Like you're a phase I'll grow out of." Both assumptions are dehumanizing. So how do we deal with it? By refusing to let others define us. By building something so solid that external judgment doesn't shake it. They were building something solid. Darius taught Sloane about his family's history, generations in Charleston, surviving slavery, Jim Crow, ongoing systemic racism. Sloane shared her awakening to privilege, her struggle to unlearn entitlement. "I still mess up constantly," she admitted. "Yesterday I complained about my bookstore salary, and my coworker, a black woman with 3 kids, looked at me like I was insane. She's making the same salary but supporting a family. My complaint was so tone-deaf. What did you do? Apologized. Listened to her story. Realized that my experience of struggle, 6 months making minimum wage, is her entire life. That I have a safety net she doesn't. That even in poverty, I have privilege. That's growth. You're learning." Sweet Scoops continued thriving. Darius's unique flavors attracted food critics, and suddenly the shop was featured in Southern Living and Bon Appetit. With increased visibility came increased business. "I might need to expand," Darius told Sloane. "Hire more staff, maybe open a second location. But that requires capital I don't have." "What about a loan?" "Banks are less likely to loan to black business owners. Even with good credit and a successful track record, the approval rates are significantly lower. That's discriminatory. That's reality. Systemic racism doesn't just affect dating, Sloane. It affects access to capital, property ownership, business development, everything." Sloane had an idea. "What if I invested? Not as charity, as a business partner. I have some money from selling jewelry my grandmother left me. It's not much, but maybe enough to help expand." Darius was immediately uncomfortable. "I can't take your money. It's not taking. It's investing. In a business I believe in, run by someone I trust." "Darius, this isn't pity or guilt. This is good business. Sweet Scoops is successful. Expansion makes sense. Why not use available resources? Because it complicates our relationship. Our relationship is already complicated. We're navigating interracial dating in the South while I unlearn racism and you build a business. Adding business partnership barely registers on the complication scale." They discussed terms, brought in Janae for input, consulted a lawyer. Eventually, Sloane became a silent partner in Sweet Scoops, providing capital for expansion without involvement in operations. "This feels right," Darius said after signing papers. "Building something together. Not you saving me, not me teaching you. Just partners. Equals," Sloane agreed. Finally, the second Sweet Scoops location opened in North Charleston, in a predominantly black neighborhood that had limited access to artisan food options. Darius priced intentionally, slightly lower than the King Street location, ensuring accessibility. "I don't want to be a business that only serves wealthy white people," he explained. "Ice cream should be for everyone. If that means lower profit margins, so be it." The community response was overwhelmingly positive. Families came daily. Local schools organized field trips to see ice cream being made. Darius hired teenagers from the neighborhood, teaching them business skills and culinary techniques. "This is what success looks like," Sloane said. watching Darius teach a 16-year-old how to balance flavors, not wealth, accumulation, community impact. I learned that from you, actually. From me? I was the poster child for wealth accumulation without purpose. You were. Past tense. Watching you dismantle your privilege, choose purpose over comfort. That inspired me to think bigger, to see sweet scoops as more than a business, as a tool for community building. They kissed in the new shop, surrounded by customers and staff, and Sloane felt something she'd never experienced in her privileged bubble, genuine belonging. 1 year after meeting Darius, Sloane was invited to speak at a local diversity conference. The topic, Unlearning Racism, a Personal Journey. She almost declined. Who was she to speak about racism? But Darius encouraged her. Your story matters, not because you're special, but because you're honest about how privilege creates blindness. People need to hear that. The conference was intimidating. Hundreds of people, many of them Black activists and educators who'd spent lifetimes fighting racism. And here was Sloane Merrick, a white woman from wealth, claiming she'd unlearned prejudice in a year. She took the stage terrified. A year ago, I said Black men were too ugly to date. I meant it. Not from conscious hatred, but from a lifetime of absorbed racism disguised as preference. I'd surrounded myself with whiteness, white friends, white neighborhoods, white everything, and convinced myself that was neutral, that my bubble was normal and everything else was other. The audience was silent, listening. Then I met Darius Laurent. He owned an ice cream shop I wandered into, and I was immediately attracted to him. That attraction confused me because it contradicted everything I'd believed about my preferences. I started questioning. If I could be attracted to him, were my stated preferences actually preferences, or were they prejudices I'd internalized? Sloane detailed her journey, the plantation venue confrontation, the research on racial preferences, breaking her engagement, losing friends, disappointing family. I'm not telling you this for praise. I'm telling you because I'm complicit in systemic racism. My family's wealth was built on exploitation. I've benefited from systems designed to elevate people like me while suppressing people who don't look like me. And for 24 years, I was blind to it. She talked about learning to see privilege, about the humility of working minimum wage, about realizing that struggle she'd experienced for months was many people's entire lives. I'll never fully understand what it's like to navigate the world as a Black person. I can't. I carry white privilege everywhere I go. But what I can do is listen, learn, and use my privilege to amplify marginalized voices and dismantle systems that created my advantages. After her speech, a Black woman in her 60s approached. I'm Corinne Wade, Darius's mother. Sloane's heart pounded. Mrs. Wade, I didn't know you were here. I wanted to see the woman who changed my son. He talks about you constantly, how you challenged yourself, how you walked away from wealth to live authentically. I needed to see if you were real or if my son was fooling himself. What's the verdict? You're real. Imperfect, still learning, but real. That's all I ask. My son has been hurt before, by women who saw him as exotic or rebellious, not as a person. You see him as a person. That matters. I love him, Mrs. Wade. Completely. Good, because he loves you too. And honey, loving across racial lines in Charleston, South Carolina, that takes courage. You've shown that courage. Just keep showing it when things get harder. They're going to get harder? They always do. But you'll handle it. You've already proven you can. After the conference, Darius was waiting. How'd it go? Your mother was there. I know. She wanted to meet the woman brave enough to challenge her own racism. What did she say? That loving you takes courage, and things will get harder. Is she right? Probably. But Sloane, we've already survived a year of judgment and growth. We can handle whatever comes next. Together. Always together. They went back to Sweet Scoops, where Janae had been managing both locations. The King Street shop was busy. Tourists, locals, people of all backgrounds enjoying ice cream Darius had created. This is your legacy, Sloane said, watching the crowd. Not just ice cream. Community. People from different backgrounds sharing space, sharing joy. That's revolutionary in its ordinariness. All because a prejudiced white woman wandered into my shop seeking relief from Charleston heat. All because a talented Black chef challenged that woman's assumptions and showed her there was another way to live. So we're both teachers then, and both students, still learning. They kissed behind the counter, and Sloane thought about the year's journey. From saying Black men were ugly to loving one, From privilege blindness to active dismantling. From performance to authenticity. She still had so much to learn. So did Darius. About trusting people from her background. About navigating her world's expectations. But they were learning together. Building something that honored both their histories while creating new possibilities. 2 years after their first meeting, Darius and Sloane stood in the original Sweet Scoops location, which they just renovated and expanded. The shop now included a small cafe area, space for community events, and a training kitchen where Darius taught ice cream making to aspiring entrepreneurs. "I can't believe we built this," Sloane said, looking at the transformed space. "We built more than this. We built us, a relationship that defies category and proves love is stronger than prejudice." Their journey hadn't been easy. They'd faced constant judgment, from Sloane's family, from strangers, from people who couldn't comprehend their partnership. But they'd also found unexpected support. Ainsley had become a close friend. Tiana, the server who'd overheard Sloane's initial racist comment, had become a Sweet Scoops regular and ally. "You've changed," Tiana told Sloane during one visit. "When I first heard you say black men were ugly, I wanted to dump my serving tray on your head. Now, you're doing real work. That matters." Sloane's relationship with her family remained complicated. Her father had grudgingly accepted Darius after Sweet Scoops was featured in national publications. Her mother still struggled but attended occasional family dinners. The acceptance was conditional and uncomfortable, but it was something. "They'll never fully understand," Darius said after one particularly tense dinner. "Your family sees me as an exception, one of the good ones. That's not acceptance. It's tolerance." "I know, but it's progress from where we started. Small progress, but progress." Wellington had married someone from their old social circle, a perfectly appropriate match that generated zero growth or passion. Sloane saw the announcement and felt only relief that she'd escaped that fate. "I could have been her," she told Darius. "Married to a man I don't really know, perpetuating systems I don't believe in, sleepwalking through a privileged life. You saved me from that. You saved yourself. I just provided the catalyst." How's this story hitting you so far? Tell us in the comments. If you're loving it, type 1. If not, type 0. We want to know what you think. Sweet Scoops continued thriving. Both locations were profitable. Darius had trained 3 new ice cream makers, all from underrepresented communities. The business had become a model for conscious entrepreneurship, successful while serving community. Sloane had continued her education too. She'd enrolled in community college, studying social work and nonprofit management. Her goal was to start an organization helping other wealthy individuals navigate privilege awareness and social responsibility. "So many people like I was exist," she explained, "blind to their privilege, unaware of systemic injustice. If I can help even a few people wake up the way I did, that's worthwhile." On their 2-year anniversary, Darius proposed, not with an expensive ring. They'd both learned that value isn't measured in carats, but with a simple band he'd designed himself. "Sloane Merrick, you walked into my shop 2 years ago, and I thought you were everything I disliked about privilege and prejudice. I was right. You were. But you were also someone brave enough to change, to challenge your own beliefs, to walk away from comfort, to choose growth over ease. Will you marry me? Will you keep growing with me? Will you spend your life proving that love transcends every barrier we construct?" "Yes, absolutely yes." They married 6 months later. Small ceremony, diverse guest list, held at a community center in North Charleston. No plantation venue, no performance for society pages, just people who loved them, celebrating their commitment. Sloane's father attended, walking her down the aisle despite his discomfort. Her mother cried, whether from joy or loss of social standing remained unclear. Darius's entire extended family came, welcoming Sloane with warmth she'd never experienced in her own family. "You're one of us now," Corinne told her. "That means something. Family isn't just biology. It's choice. We choose you." During their first dance, Darius whispered, "Any regrets? Giving up wealth and status for this?" "None. Not a single one. Darius, I was empty before. Pretty and wealthy but empty. You filled me with purpose. How could I regret that? Even when people still judge us, let them judge. We're happy. We're building something meaningful. That's all that matters." 5 years after Sloane had said black men were ugly, she stood in Sweet Scoops helping Darius prep for the next day. They'd been married 3 years, had a 1-year-old daughter named Amara, and were planning to open a third location. "Remember when you walked in here looking for AC relief?" Darius said, washing dishes beside her. "I remember thinking you were attractive and being confused about it. Took me weeks to admit that attraction wasn't about race, it was about connection. Best confusion of your life." "Definitely. Darius, I was so blind before I met you. Blind to racism, to privilege, to real struggle. You opened my eyes. You opened them yourself. I just pointed at things you'd been missing." They finished cleaning and headed home to their small house in a diverse neighborhood. Not the mansion Sloane grew up in, not the luxury she'd once expected, but it was theirs, built on genuine values, filled with love that had survived judgment and emerged stronger. "I love our life," Sloane said as they got ready for bed. "It's not easy, it's not comfortable, but it's real. Finally, everything in my life is real. That's what love does. It makes things real." Sloane Merrick had once said black men were too ugly to date, that casual racism, born of ignorance and insularity, had seemed like preference, until Darius Laurent had challenged her assumptions, forced her to confront her prejudice, and shown her that attraction, real attraction, transcended every artificial category. Their love story wasn't simple or easy. It was complicated by race and class and history, but it was also proof that people could change, that prejudice could be unlearned, that love was stronger than hate. An ice cream seller had changed a prejudiced woman's mind, and in the process, they'd both discovered that the most beautiful thing isn't perfection, it's growth. The willingness to challenge yourself, to admit fault, to become someone better than you were. That's what Sloane and Darius had built. Not just a relationship, but a testament to the transformative power of honest love. And it started with ice cream on a hot Charleston afternoon,